And good morning. Welcome to Focus on Stafford County on 1590 KVGB, 95.5 FM, the talk of the town, coming to you from the Mayo Money Management Studio. We get a chance to talk everything Stafford County today. Joining us, Ryan Russell is a new executive director of Stafford County Economic Development. Also joining us is outgoing executive director of Stafford County Economic Development, Kathleen Norman. Guys, thanks for coming in today.
Yeah, good morning, Steve.
So one's been here a while and the other one's coming going. So what's it feel like, Kathleen, your last day today?
I know. Kind of crazy.
So how long now have you been with Stafford County Economic Development?
So in this role or roles, because I came back in December of 2020, and so I've been here just over 2.5 years then. First as assistant director, then as executive director.
And you are going on to do what?
The Peace Corps. So
Still going to Albania? Did that get all worked out and everything good?
hopefully everything works out on that.
Okay, so go from Stafford County to Albania.
Yep.
Then we have Ryan Russell, who's gone from Thailand or back to Stafford County. Ryan, how are things going here? It's been a whirlwind for you?
Yeah, it's been good. It's been an adjustment, of course. So, Kathleen's been really great at shepherding my time here and getting me to the place where I feel confident to go on without her.
Okay, so we're getting started here, and we'll go ahead and start off today, and we'll talk about childcare. And I guess I've got the outgoing and incoming. So I'll just throw this out there. Childcare. What's the latest? Of course, we've seen a lot of these things taking place throughout the area here in Great Bend. But what's the update on childcare for Stafford County?
So continuing to make progress with the modular classroom building in St. John. The big exciting news is we have a provider she's passed KDHE inspection. She'll be opening August 1. So
next week. Wow.
Yeah. And the building's in really good shape. So she's already moved into her side. The other side is also available for rent to someone else wanting to open a daycare. We're still in the process of wrapping up some of the exterior things. There's just been delays with weather and contractors to get the concrete is in. The grass is starting to grow. And then once the grass is established, we'll put in mulch and some play equipment in the play area. But kind of have to wait a little bit on the grass so we don't stop it before it starts.
So was she an existing provider before? Or this a new venture for her?
This is a new venture. So she actually was looking to get licensed as an in-home provider here in Great Bend, and her house didn't meet KDHE requirements. And so she heard about the option to rent a location from us. And so it's been really great. She's enthusiastic. She'd already been through most of the process, so it's actually been a very quick turnaround time to get her operational.
So who is this person?
Her name is Logan Cornell.
Okay.
So she had an open house on Tuesday this week. She still has openings. The name of her daycare is Happy Hearts Daycare, and there's a lot of information on Facebook. Either she's posted a number of things and has a Facebook page, and then there's the Stafford County Childcare Committee page that also has information on how to contact her. Okay,
we went with this childcare venture. Does it stop here, or we just continue to look for options going? First of all, we need to get another provider for the other side, right? That would be the first thing. So,
I mean, it's part of the thing. I think now once the building kind of gets done, and that's where, for me, I'm stepping off the childcare train. But Ryan's had a number of conversations with some individuals in Maxville and Stafford. There's still a need in the county. And so it's not, the child care initiative's not done.
Right.
But this project's getting to a more stabilized point in which it'll just be operating, hopefully.
Ryan, what are some of those conversations like that you've been having with people? I know there's probably, we need childcare. We need childcare. Tell me about some of the conversations you've had.
Yeah, so the city of Stafford has been very active in trying to fill the need. They have a building. They're trying to develop it to be able to host somebody. Finding somebody to go in that building, we still have to find that person. In Maxville, there's a couple ladies that are opening a place. They're very early in their development of that. They've found a spot that they hope to be able to purchase and then they have to renovate it and that sort of thing. And so we're in conversation with them, and there are some options for funding, maybe in the near future, to help develop those opportunities.
What about grants available? Is that something you're always looking for grants? Is this something that Ryan mentioned? There's grants available, things like that. Are they more plentiful than they were just a few years ago?
Yes. So there's been a couple of initiatives. Actually, basically, this year's the first year we've seen grants specifically for childcare outside of maybe community foundations providing some funding. And so in the spring, Child Care Aware was doing some capacity building grants for community initiatives. There was also an initiative with a Child Care Accelerator grant. Great Bend here received a $2 million grant for their center through that program, which is separate. And we have heard that there'll be another kind of round different coming open this fall. So it's the first time we're seeing these grants, which is excited. They're needed. It's kind of refreshing that people have heard that there's a need to have the funding, and they're actually coming up with opportunities for that. At the same time, it's doing the work to have a plan to be able to have a project that meets their qualifications and then be able to carry out the project.
Housing, another issue that everybody's facing, and kind of give us an update on what the initiatives are in Stafford County right now.
We are waiting on a grant that we submitted in June. Hopefully we'll find out about that in the next couple of weeks. And that funding is for 9 houses, five in Stafford and 4 in St. John. And so once we find out about that, we'll be able to move forward with those builds. We're also looking at other opportunities for housing. It's just really difficult without grant money, plus the city and county to be involved and that sort of thing. There's a lack of interest in investing in real estate right now to build because of the high costs of construction and that sort of thing. So we're trying to be creative, trying to find ways to potentially attract investment, get grants, and all of that. And so working closely with the cities to develop that.
You've used a lot of different strategies. I mean, a lot of different funding mechanisms to make some of these work.
We have over time, and part of it's the challenge. So the new housing would be moderate income. There's a lot less funding available for that. It's a highly competitive program. That's been what we've primarily used in the past, and which allows, greater utilization by our general population once the housing's built. We are almost done with the final 2 houses in Maxville that were part of our income restricted rental housing. And so those were good. There's challenges with that when you have those restrictions that will be on there for 20 years. I mean, there's a need. We have a waiting list for the Maxville ones, but we still have a unit open in St. John and a unit open in Hudson. So just depending on location, it can be harder to fill because of the restrictions.
Okay, so you do have some vacancies right now. Okay.
Yeah. But, one in St. John, one in Hudson, and those are being managed by Housing Opportunities, Inc. So if people are interested, they can reach out to them for more information and to see if they qualify.
Okay, what do you see as the challenges with housing right now, Ryan? That's kind of an open-ended question.
It is. Yeah. I think for what we're seeing is that the cost to build is very high, and so people have this idea that they can buy houses at a certain level, but when you get to the end of building it, that is way beyond what people are looking at buying for, and so we're having to look at ways to build houses that are affordable, but the ones that are affordable, people may not be interested in buying, is the issue.
Yeah, exactly.
And so that's kind of the main issue of that. And so also some of the cities are trying to do a little better job of salvaging properties versus just tearing them down, which has been kind of the mode of operation in the past. So they've done a better job of trying to salvage, put money into properties to rejuvenate them. Some of the downtown areas, I think Stafford is doing a decent job of trying to revitalize their downtown areas and potentially put apartments in some of those buildings downtown, which are interesting. And so just trying to be creative with housing that way, putting in apartments or taking spaces that were used as one thing before and then transitioning them to housing is another option that I think is a good strategy. But yeah, it's difficult. It's very difficult.
Yeah. We're going to take a break. Ryan Russell with us, Stafford County Economic Development Director, outgoing Director Kathleen Norman here on Focus on Stafford County. We'll have more right after this. Welcome back. Focus on Stafford County today. Kathleen Norman, Ryan Russell with us here on the show. Okay, grant writing. This is a skill, obviously. So what's going on with grant writing right now?
So there's a couple opportunities. One out of Fort Hays State University. They do a grant writing certification a couple times a year. One is starting in September, and it's an 8-week course online, and it's really good. There's also a lady, Nancy Daniels, that does 1-day trainings for grant writers, people that are kind of an introductory to grant writing and that sort of thing. That's really helpful to people that don't have a lot of exposure to that. And so we've been able to get some funding to send some people from Stafford County to each of those trainings. And so we'll be giving full and half scholarships to participate in those for a number of people. Yeah.
So how do people apply for those?
I will be announcing that soon.
Okay.
So I'll be announcing that soon. People will be able to see that on our website or Facebook page. I also have an email list of people that have already showed interest that I'll be sending out to them as well soon. But we're trying to offer opportunities for we have a lot of nonprofits in our communities, and we want to help build capacity in them so that they can access resources themselves and have that confidence to do that.
How much grant writing experience did you have, Kathleen, when you came on board?
I actually had a fair bit.
Okay.
I wrote my first grant in college. It was to a community foundation for $500.
Okay,
but I mean, I had a very strong writing background, which helped, and then have had good mentoring along the way. So at most of the places I've been, I've gotten to work on grants and gain experience. Like when I was a Vista, I worked with economic development here. I helped work on a USDA rural business development loan. So that was like a step up for me, but I had the guidance of working with Carolyn and Ashley at the time, who had already been doing some of those larger grants successfully. But
what's the keys to success when you're writing a grant proposal?
So I always feel like it's twofold. What I think people miss in terms of understanding grant writing or grants is you have to have a strategy. Like there's strategy involved in like, how are you going to tell the story in a way that is compelling and would have the funders want to fund your project? And it's even then, how do you look at maybe combining multiple funding sources to achieve the outcome that you want, knowing that some places have smaller funds available, other places have larger, and you need to be able to kind of stack things together. So I feel like one thing that people don't understand is like grant writing has a fair bit of strategy involved. And then it's answer the questions and nothing is optional. Like if they're asking for it, it's not optional. You have to fill out.
You can't put NA on it.
No, like because I know some people they'll put in an application. They're like, well, I have a good project, but I didn't include X, Y, and Z. And it's like, well, if you didn't do that, they're not going to look at your grant. So answer all the questions, have all the documents, and plan. So like part of it's the strategy, and part of it's having the plan for the project, and answer the questions. And I tend to be more concise. I don't know that there's a definitive. It needs to be well written, and you need to explain your point well.
In as
But
few as words as possible.
sometimes they give you a lot of space. Sometimes they don't.
So what's one of these grant applications look like? I mean,
the thing is, grants are not all created equal.
yeah.
So there's community grants that are a little more easy to apply for, and that's because they know the organizations in the community, and so they have a little more leeway in terms of what you submit, and so they ask fewer questions. The application process is sometimes only 2 or 3 pages max, and then you have more complex grants that are like a book, submitting like a book, and those are like construction plans or
Like the housing grants are not a small fee. Like the housing plans, they usually give you 6 to 8 weeks to turn in the application. But you better have started months in advance to have a plan and to be having gotten all of the required paperwork required to have a successful grant application. And so that's some of it too, is like trying to encourage people to start planning so that then they're ready when the grant opportunities arise. Because with the larger grants, you don't usually have the time to scramble to put a plan together.
so some of these bigger plans, I guess, to use a sports analogy, it would be to put together some base hits instead of going for the home run.
Sometimes that's what it is. You're looking at, how do you build that? And some of it is if you're a newer organization or different things, you need to do a number of base runs before you can get a home run. You need to be showing you can successfully manage, a couple $1,000s and, a couple tens of thousands of dollars before you're going to be able to secure, an $800,000 grant or $1 million grant. You have to
kind of prove yourself sometimes.
Yep, you do. But I think the big thing with grant writing too is having a compelling story and angle that makes sense and aligns with what the funder wants to fund. The funder usually tells you and is very explicit about what they're looking for or what they're interested in funding. And so it's just making sure that your project aligns with that and you're able to communicate that in kind of a concise way, but a compelling way.
Thus, these writing workshops, good idea, right?
Yeah. Yeah. We get a number of requests every year from our local organizations to help them with grant writing. And so part of this is to expand the capacity for them to do it themselves. Also, it could be supplemental help for us to do some more grants for the county to do more things. And so it's twofold in that way.
Okay. Ryan Russell with us, along with Kathleen Norman. We'll take a break. More of Focus on Stafford County right after this. Welcome back, Focus on Stafford County. Mike Corson with a story on Great Bend Post and Eagle Radio this week concerning beef production options in Stafford County. Ryan, what's going on here?
Well, when I first moved back to Stafford County, I was very curious why there wasn't any beef slaughter or packing or butcher in the county. The church I go to in Hudson, the majority of the people there produce beef. We're only like 6 miles from Golden Belt feeders. And so I was a little confused why there was not that. And then as I was asking questions like, oh, where do you guys, slaughter your beef? People were telling me about how terrible it was during COVID, how they had there was no available slots. They couldn't get in anywhere to slaughter or get their beef butchered and packed. And so I was like, so why isn't there anything in Stafford County? And they're like, we don't know. And so I started doing some research and like if there is demand, is there interest and that sort of thing. And pretty quickly I found that there would be people interested in participating in something regarding beef slaughter, butchering and packing. And so I took a group of, there were 6 of us that went up to Abilene at the end of June, and we looked at Midwest Meats, a mobile unit. They do slaughter on the farm, so they take basically a trailer out there that's certified, and they slaughter right there on the farm, and then they bring it back to their facility for butchering and processing. And so that was an interesting concept. We're looking at other concepts. Last weekend, I went up to northwest Kansas, up to St. Francis. It was quite a drive.
Beautiful country up there.
Yeah, it's very beautiful. Yeah. And met with the Calicrates, who have a farm up there. And they're doing modular slaughter. So they basically manufacture a building that is focused on beef and also hog slaughter. And then they drop the modular on a slab, and it's about a 3,000 square foot building that includes the slaughter area and then also a coolers to keep the beef cool. And then they ship it out to Colorado Springs, where they do their butchering and packaging. And so, so we're looking at various options and obviously looking at stuff that's not on the largest scale possible, but on something that would be between doing 10 cattle a day to 30 and doing something like that, and then trying to figure out how to do the butchering and processing part as well.
What would that mean for Stafford County?
It would be really big. We have at least 4 producers I know that do direct sales to customers, and some of them are they're doing their processing and packaging at Crable's in McPherson or down in Kiowa, and so for them it'd be better to keep some of the money in the county. We could do more direct sales. Maybe if we do a certain type of processing plant, we can even go across state lines and sell it out of state, and build up the brands of these farmers' beef production. So it'd be really interesting.
Okay, so we'll just kind of stay tuned on that.
Yeah, it's still early days. I have a group of like 18 people I'm talking to every week that are beef producers and people that are interested in this, and so we'll be looking at different things, and we're kind of waiting for USDA also to have another round of funding open. And until then, we're going to try to build kind of a plan of what we might try to do.
Okay, sounds great. Kathleen, are you ready for this new adventure of yours?
Getting there, Steve.
Okay. Well, it's been a pleasure working with you over the years, and good luck to you. Ryan, looking forward to continuing our affiliation here, and I guess your feelings here is you get your feet wet a little bit. You ready to go?
I am. There's a lot of work to do, and so I've been trying to measure the amount of time I spend on this or that, and so we have a lot of stuff coming up in August, and if we get the housing grant, then that'll take a good amount of time of mine, and then we have some other programs that we have in place that will be moving forward. But next month I have some surprises to tell you about.
Okay,
that are going to come through, and you'll be ready for that. Okay?
I like it. Okay, I like it. A tease.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Kathleen.
Thank you, Steve.
Ryan, thanks for coming up today.
Thank you,
Looking
Steve.
forward. Good tease on that.
Yeah,
Okay.
sure.
Tune in next month for Focus on Stafford County right here on 1590 KVGB and 95.5 FM.